Sometimes it be like that. Warriors go into Cleveland Sunday afternoon, a Cavs team that's very hungry for a first win at home, kind of a disappointing start, and then styles make fights. And you look at that backcourt of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, they're contrasting, style of quickness and power and athleticism. That's a nightmare matchup for our older backcourt, right? But I think that ultimately it was the size that did the Warriors in. And to me, young Evan Mobley dominated the paint. He controlled the paint defensively with his ability to switch on the pick and rolls, recover, roam. And it wasn't necessarily his rebounding numbers or his blocking numbers. It was the shots that he took away, the drives that didn't happen, and the attempts in the paint that didn't happen because of his presence, right? And you see Cleveland's recipe is very clear. Defend, super aggressive on the perimeter because we've got 2 7-footers behind us, and then dominate the defensive glass and send those young athletic guards out in transition. Very impressed with Mobley defensively and just his innate feel to distance manage and his want to defend. Now, offensively, he's a ways away. I don't think he's a scorer, right? He just doesn't have that mentality. Factor helps make meeting your nutritional goals easier than ever. It's fresh, never frozen food delivered directly to your doorstep, and it's all dietitian approved. Eliminate the stress of meal prep during the holiday season by using Factor. I think we all like to indulge in holiday meals with our family, and I don't think that's the problem. I think the real problem is indulging in the leftovers. So enjoy your Thanksgiving meal or your Christmas meal, but then get back on track with Factor. I highly recommend the Protein Plus, where you're going to get 30 grams of protein per meal. And that's going to keep you full for longer and just satiated. But if you're calorie conscious, they've got that for you as well with meals under 550 calories. They've got something for everyone: cold pressed juices, a gourmet option on the menu. So head over to factor75.com or click the link in the description and use the code alchemy50 for 50% off your first box at Factor. It was the first game, right? Was that game 7 where the second unit struggled. And it was the first game where you were like, dang, CP, we kind of need you to shoot the ball right now. We need your offense, right? And what is he, 2 of 22 from 3 or something like that? I think the law of averages will eventually kick in. He'll have a month where he shoots like 50, 60% from 3. It's coming. Hopefully it comes in the right month when we need it, right? But yeah, the second unit struggled. And what I saw overall was when you're playing a locked in defense like that with that size and athleticism, a lot of times the first shot is the best shot you're going to get. And we passed up some first shots thinking we were going to get better ones, and they never came. And so you saw that long drought offensively. Was it in the second quarter? And then about midway through the third, I think Kerr was like, all right, we're playing again today. And, let me put Pojemski, Trace Jackson in there, the young guys, and they gave us a surge. And in hindsight, you look back at that matchup and you say, hey, probably should have went to them earlier on, maybe in that second quarter, because as well as Steph and Clay shot, again, a young athletic team that was playing harder was the difference. And I think our young guys were ready to match that effort level and energy. It just was too little too late. Steph, hey, you come here for the honest takes. As well as he is shooting the ball, don't confuse that with playing well. He's shooting the ball way better than he's playing. In his transition defense, some of his effort things, his floor game, he's over dribbling. And hey, he's Steph Curry. He has the right to cruise into the season however he wants to. And I think everybody looks at the shooting and says, oh man, MVP, look at Steph. If you look at his entire game, there's a lot of areas where he's not really dialed in and focused yet. But let me get to this Andrew Wiggins conversation here. I've been avoiding it a little bit here because it's like, all right, let's give him some games here. And I expected Wiggins to come into the season kind of rejuvenated, right? Obviously, that long, period away from the team a year ago and never kind of got right from it. So he's physically would be fresh, and that just hasn't been the case. Mentally, physically, he looks all right, right? What's that? Have you ever seen those Nike shirts that says "Basketball never stops"? I used to have one. I don't know what happened to it years ago. I don't know if they don't make it anymore, but that phrase means when you're on a court, when you're playing, there's no time to mentally rest. You can physically rest. Ask LeBron. He does it half the game, right? But mentally, you always have to be moving on to the next play and anticipating what's going to happen. And with Andrew Wiggins, there's none of that, right? He just doesn't, he has these blips, these mental lapses where he's just in outer space just for a second. And then it costs him because of the role he's being asked to play, usually a point of attack defender, whatever the case may be. He's having these mental blips where he's not going from one play to the next. It's like he's not present enough, right? That's the first thing that stands out to me. As far as the three-point shooting, he hit one that mechanically there. He does have issues mechanically at times with his shot, and you can see it at the foul line where the ball, it'll kind of sway off to the right. You can see where he finishes his shot sometimes. Mechanically, he can get out of sorts. So they're trying to get him the ball in the paint and get downhill and be aggressive. Why doesn't he dunk the ball? Dunk the ball. There's so many times where he gets downhill, plants off two. I think we're going to get a Luka poster 2.0, and he smokes a layup when he's above the rim. And so that brings us to the question of, what is wrong with Andrew Wiggins? I've heard people say, hey, he misses Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole was his guy, lighten the mood, and, he's down about that. Okay, maybe. I don't know. These are all, I'm not going to, I don't know, right? We obviously don't know. I'm not really buying that one. The leave of absence a year ago. I know people were very sensitive, speculating, rumors. If you were to have believed the rumors, it would make sense that this would carry and drag on into this year because it's a life-altering situation if that were the case, right? Or maybe Andrew Wiggins just doesn't like basketball that much, Like you heard Poole say, hey, my basketball legacy is set. I'm a champ. I'm done. In a way, he's right? I got paid. I got the ring. Check, right? And I can just play and have fun. And you see he's having fun in Washington. But I digress. We're not talking about Poole. Andrew Wiggins, Maple Jordan, Air Canada. Well, that's Vince. But, he has been a prodigy in basketball since probably, he's 14 years old. And maybe he just doesn't like it that much anymore. And I bring up that he's got his championship. Now, is this his third $100 million contract, right? Maybe he's just lacking motivation and interest in the game. It could be that simple. Now, there's plenty of time in the season, obviously, for him to get right. And they love Wiggs, right? It's not a chemistry or personnel thing. They're going to do everything, I think, in their power to get him feeling right and playing well again. But the reality of the situation is, and you saw it last night in that third quarter and into the fourth, Jonathan Kuminga's ready, right? JK looks ready to take that spot in that role. And so, again, it's early on, and I don't have any more answers than you. We can only just kind of hypothesize what's going on. I presented to you the few reasons that have crossed my mind. So I'm interested to see what y'all say in the comments if there's something else you see. I don't think it's physical, right? I don't think it's like he has a sore knee or something like that. I think it's between the ears or perhaps in the chest, right? And so that's harder to solve. And not to say that it can't be, but again, Kuminga is on deck with two bats, swinging for the fences, right? Ready to go. And as the season progresses, if this continues, and Kuminga steps even more into that role, then yeah, I think there is a real possibility that, he could be someone that looks to get moved, right? Moving forward, if they need to add another bigger body or something, maybe, I hadn't thought of it because Wiggins is such a great fit. They all love him. I don't want to jump on this too soon, but I think it's all crossing our minds like, hey, if Kuminga's ready for that spot and Wiggins we'll see. And so, again, it's too early to really even put these things out here. But, I had gotten too many messages like, hey, you got to speak on Wiggs. And so those are my thoughts on him early on. It's something. It's definitely something, right? And it's not a physical thing. So that leaves us open to interpretation. Again, in the comments, tell me what you think it is. And perhaps how long are you willing to wait? Are you comfortable putting his name on the trade block? Probably not yet, not me personally. Now, again, an L on the road in Cleveland. I don't feel too bad about it. Here's what I'll say. I'll finish up. I put this in today's breakdown. Listen, when you're playing a team that size, I don't think it's wise to send everybody to the offensive glass. It's a fool's errand, right? Get back in transition, because the transition defense really killed us in that game, and there were a lot of culprits in that. So now we got Detroit tonight, where obviously not as good as Cleveland, but they also are very young and athletic, and perhaps they can learn from what happened yesterday and play the young guys a little sooner, because certain matchups, right? The youth, the exuberance, is that how you say that, right? Sometimes it's hard to match with Steph and Clay and these guys. It's like they can't, CP, they're like, dude, these dudes are running around in circles. They're just so happy to be out there. It's impossible to match, but we have young guys that can. And so what I would suggest is maybe going to them a little bit earlier in the game and feed off of their energy. Now, I don't expect to see James Wiseman make a cameo because he hasn't been in the rotation, but perhaps the game gets out of hand and we get to see our old friend Wise, right? But it is it's tough to say a must win at this point in the season, but this is one you got to get, because Denver is up next Wednesday and you don't want to drop 3 in a row, right? But I'll be back to cover all of that and more. Who gets that 14th spot? Isn't the deadline tomorrow? I don't know. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.